Welcome to Abu Dhabi Talks. I'd like to introduce my co-hosts, Ro and Sana Diab.
So today we have a very special guest. We have Lady Helda van der Tuin. But I'm trying to
Van der Tuin.
Van der Tuin.
That's
There, she got it.
correct.
Okay, Lady Helda van der Tuin. Did I get it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Perfect. And she has a Master of Law. She is running a couple of companies here in the UAE and one in the Netherlands. And she is also a registered will draftsman
Yes.
in the UAE.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. You were recommended by Simplify, as I told you.
Yeah, that's a
You're
very
not-
big compliment.
Yeah, that's well, I'm honored to meet you. First, what is a registered draftsman?
Well, actually, that is someone who's on the list of DIFC.
Okay.
DIFC has a special registry for wills for expats.
Mhm.
And they have a list of all kinds of lawyers who are registered in their system and on their website, and who went through a special education. And when you are on that list, everybody knows that, well, you have the knowledge that is necessary to draft a will for expats in the UAE.
Say if an expat passes away in the UAE without a will, what happens?
If an expat doesn't have an expat will in the UAE, the Sharia law is applicable. And that means that the estate of that expat is divided according to the Sharia law. And especially for women, that is, there's nothing wrong with the Sharia law, because the Sharia law is very protective against women. But when you are an expat, you don't have the other protection that comes with the Sharia law. And it means, for example, that if your husband passes away, that you get a small part of the inheritance. And not many people know this. They think, oh, when my spouse passes away, I will inherit half of everything, for example, or I will inherit everything from my husband. But when you don't have a will as an expat in the UAE, that's not the case.
So what will happen if you do pass away, you don't have a will?
Then you have to go to the court in order to be entitled to the inheritance of your spouse, for example.
So there is a process to go through which can get you, the inheritance from your spouse. So it's not saying that, you don't receive anything, but you have to go through a process.
Exactly, and that is a very lengthy process. It can, well, in some cases, it will take a couple of years before everything is arranged. And it means, that all the time, for example, bank accounts are blocked. So especially, if you are a housewife and you don't have your own income, of course, you also depend on your husband when it comes to your visa, and then the bank accounts get blocked, and it will take a while before you inherit anything from your husband. So, especially for women, this can cause enormous problems.
What happens to the children in this situation? Say if the sponsor, the husband, for example, passes away. So we know this is what happens with the finances, but what about the children without a will? What happens to them?
Well, sometimes in the UAE, as a woman, you don't automatically become their guardian when the husband passes away. And it means that in some situations, the government wants to protect the children.
So is that what is a guardianship? Like, what is exactly guardianship?
Yeah, guardianship, when related to a will, means that you drafted a will and you write in your guardianship, more or less, if something happens to the husband, then the wife becomes the permanent guardian of the children. And it means that there is no risk that they will be put in an orphanage temporarily. And also you write in the will as an expat, if you are parents, of course, you write in the will that when both of you pass away, that a family member or a friend or anyone you like to more or less becomes a new parent of the children.
Okay.
In the situation that, for example, the husband dies,
Yeah.
and there's a will in place, that means that the banks will not freeze the assets.
They will still freeze. They will still freeze the assets, because they do that. Usually, it takes about 15 days after someone dies. But with a will, you can go to the courts, and then you get a probate. That is the document that states who's entitled to the estate. And with that probate, you can go to the bank, and then you give it to the bank, and from that moment on, the accounts will no longer be frozen.
How long does that take?
Yeah.
Can they do that immediately?
It can take a couple of months.
Okay.
So it's
Still
always
better than 2 years.
It is no. Without a will, it can take take years, and with a will, usually a couple of months. But I also advise expats to keep, for example, some cash for 2 months or something like that. If you have a safe or some other place where the money is safe, it's always wise to keep a certain amount of money, a certain amount of cash in a safe, for example. Because
does that apply? Sorry, does that apply also to assets outside of the UAE?
No, assets outside of the UAE are not protected with a UAE will, unless you have a worldwide will. And DIFC in Dubai is the only organization that offers a worldwide will. And it means that with that will, when somebody passes away, all the assets all over the world are covered by this will.
It's recognized by every country in the world. Is that it?
That is an issue. Not all countries recognize this will. For example, if you have civil law countries, usually they don't recognize this will. So therefore, it's always wise, of course, to talk to a lawyer, because to register a worldwide will is a lot more expensive than just a UAE will. You can register that one at Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. And so it's always...
I guess it's better to get the will wherever your assets are. Then it's better to have a will made in... Is that possible to have multiple wills made?
Yeah. Lots of people have multiple wills indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
But then, of course, it is very important that somebody, usually the lawyer, checks, if all the wills are compliant. And for example, if you would have 3 wills, because 3 different jurisdictions are applicable on your estate, and you would have 3 different executors, you can imagine that it is very difficult for them to handle your estate. So it can be wise to have one executor who is going to take care of all your estates in different countries. But on the other side, this person must really love you, because it's a lot you ask from someone. This person has to go to all of these countries, and of course he can hire a lawyer in several countries. But it is quite a job to be an executor.
But it is possible to have your spouse as an executor, right?
Yeah, in a standard situation, usually you say, okay, my husband or my wife is the executor. And that's also the easiest thing to do, because usually the husband or the wife knows most about the financial situation of the family.
Yes. But in case of both passing away, then I guess that's something we have to think about. Somebody,
you have
trustworthy, close.
yeah, you have a kind of a schedule in the will. So usually you say that depends a bit on the relationship, of course, between the husband and the wife. But usually you say, okay, my husband is my executor if something happens to me. But if something happens to the both of us, the executor is someone else. And also if this executor passed away, we have another executor. And if that one passed away as well, we have another executor.
Wow,
So you
okay.
have a kind of a system with.
Well, what if the couple are divorced?
Well, especially, usually when you are divorced, you can just live your own life and you don't have that much to do anymore with your former husband or wife.
Yeah.
But especially when you have children, it is very wise to have a will drafted, especially in the UAE. For example, if the children are staying with their mom and they are in another country, for example, the woman lives in another country, or they are on holiday, something happens to her, and this woman started a new life, it is possible, that the children go to someone who is not related to them at all, but they don't automatically go to their father. So especially when you are divorced, it is important to arrange something for your children. What happens to the children if their father or mother passes away?
I think the law here will apply otherwise if you don't have a will for that, like a guardian, which is like it depends really on the divorce and who is available in the country. You probably have
but
some experience
of course
in that.
that's not always what you want as a parent.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it's
So
not
in case
it's
you
not
want
that they
something
put
else.
them, it's not that they put them on the street or something like that. But usually, when it can be wise in a settlement agreement, for example, when you're going through a divorce, to draft in that settlement agreement that both of the parents are obliged to have a will drafted and to communicate to each other about this will, to make sure that, especially when it comes to the children. Of course, when it comes to money, it's a whole different chapter, because when you're divorced, you're not entitled anymore to each other's inheritance. But especially when it comes to the children, it is important to arrange something for the children. What will happen to them if their father or mother passes away? They don't go automatically to the ex-husband or wife or their father or mother. And what happens, for example, if somebody remarried?
Yeah, that's another
What
issue.
does happen?
Well, then we have all these unclear situations, and lots of people have to go to court, etc. And it will cost them a lot of money, and it causes a lot of stress, and it's bad for the children. So, it's better to prevent, especially your children, against these kind of situations.
For Muslim, can we still do that? Register for a will?
No, when you are a Muslim, you can't register an expat will. As a Muslim, there usually, there is a way with a foundation to make sure that the Sharia law is not applicable on your estate. But this foundation is very expensive, so it's only for a few people. But when you're a Muslim and you live in the UAE, the Sharia law is applicable on your estate, and then you can arrange something for your children, but the Sharia law still applies.
So I have a will, for example, we have a will, outside the UAE. Is that going to be honored? That's the first question, actually.
The IFC, for example, has a common law system for the wills, and Abu Dhabi has a common law mixed with a little bit Sharia law and a little bit civil law. So they have their own formats. so even when you have a will from another country, of course, for example, when I draft a will, I use that will to make sure that it complies to the UAE will. But you can't say, oh, I will just translate it or something like that. What is also important to mention that a will in Abu Dhabi also has to be translated into Arabic, and the will in DIFC is completely in English.
In Netherlands, is it recognized?
No, in the
This
Netherlands, it's not recognized.
So it's going to be the same in Belgium then.
And in Belgium,
Gonna be
it's
less.
also not recognized.
Yes, because we have civil law.
And in Germany, it's also, so these are all the civil law countries. In Germany, for example, also, you know, you can have a worldwide will drafted in DIFC, but, you know, it's not sure that in Germany, they will respect that will. And
What about the UK? Because we've got a huge amount of expats from the UK on our platform.
yeah, in the UK, you could use it in the UK. So if you are from the UK and you have assets in the UK and in the UAE and in a couple of other countries, common law countries, then this worldwide will is a very good solution.
So for somebody like me, since you know we have civil law, then it's better to do the Abu Dhabi thing.
Yeah, if you are from a civil law country, the cheapest solution would be to have a will registered in Abu Dhabi and to have a will registered in your country of origin.
Can I ask in terms of cost, just approximately how much would one expect to pay for like an expat will and the foundation?
Let me start with the registration cost. If you register your will in DIFC, the registration costs for a couple are 15,000 dirhams.
15.
15,000 dirhams. Yeah, if you are single, it is 10,000 dirhams. And if you register your will in Abu Dhabi at the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department, you pay 950 dirhams per person, registration costs. But that is only for registering your will. It's not for drafting your will. So for drafting your will, you need a lawyer. And then it depends, you know.
Why is it 15,000 at DIFC? From 900, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
my
God.
God.
Is a lot. Yeah. And that is only the registration costs.
That's a lot, man. So but why such a huge difference between Abu Dhabi and Dubai for just the registration? It's an incredible difference,
thing, I guess.
Yeah, well,
no, that's not even.
I don't know.
That's not the worldwide thing.
I don't
it's
have
not a
all
worldwide
the details of their.
It's the first time I've had these numbers, so you're seeing my shock in this. But
No, I mean because the IFC is the registered worldwide. What do you call it?
Yeah, if you know the
so it's
IFC, it offers the best solution if you have assets in several countries. If you have a company in Hong Kong and you have well some accounts in the United States, or you have some shares and stocks, etc., and you want to protect all those assets, then DIFC absolutely has the best option with this worldwide will. It is expensive, but you have only one will.
After the registration, what is the next cost? Because I'm completely new to all of this, so 15,000 for registration only.
Yeah.
But did you say that this doesn't include the drafting of the will itself? Is that correct?
Exactly.
So the lawyer, how much would that cost us to draft the? What are the other costs on top of this?
Between 5,000 and 20,000 dirhams.
Right. Okay.
That's with Dubai or the same with Abu Dhabi?
Well, if you would have the cost for drafting the will usually are the same, but the registration costs differ. And if you would register your will in Abu Dhabi, the registration costs are only 950 dirhams per will, so per person.
We're looking at about 30,000 dirhams, I would say.
In Dubai,
budget. Yeah.
Well,
if we're going for DIFs, that's It's a lot of money. Wow.
Well, in Dubai, you don't have to don't have the translation cost, but that is, you know, on this whole total amount, that is
You
just
know,
the
inheritance
amount.
left. We're giving it all
Yeah.
away in fees.
So in Dubai, it starts, the whole amount involved starts at about 20,000 dirhams.
What is the timeline between registering for a will up until the time that, you know, it gets approved and like really
Usually it takes about 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah, you know, so in the beginning we start with something, and in the end there's a completely different will, and that is okay, that is normal. But that usually, that process takes about 2 months. If you have a tenancy contract, it's always wise to make sure that it's on both names, so the husband and the wife's name, not on only one, one name. And you know, these days with the rental market like it is, you know, the risk is not that big that the landlord will say, oh, now you have to leave because you don't have a contract.
But I was saying that when it comes to the tenancy agreement, many times they won't list you as a wife. You are listed as an occupant. Because I faced this problem when I had to get something done in the UK. And then I discovered that actually it's my husband as a sponsor who is the tenant. Yeah. I'm not listed as a tenant. I'm an occupant like my children. So I faced huge problems.
It is possible from a legal perspective, but very often, you know, you have to keep on pushing in order to get your name on the contract. But it is possible in the UAE.
So how is that useful? That's useful in case the husband or the wife dies, and then you can take care of the house, or
exactly. You know, at least your name is on the tenancy contract. It is already a very good thing if you own a house in the UAE to make sure that it's on both of your names, because then as a wife, you already have 50% of the house. Because
what about if you have adult children? Like, for example, I've got a daughter who would qualify as an adult. She's over 18. So she's 19 or 20. So, you know, can you add them, you know, if like the spouse passes away, that goes to them, the other 50%, for example? Yeah,
it is quite normal.
What is the age limit though for UAE? Would it 19 qualify, but it's not like 21, or what happens in that situation?
Well, also a child can inherit, a minor can also inherit from you, but then we write something in the will that, you know, somebody is taking care of their financial assets.
No, do you have any recommendations as to, you know, because we're here in Abu Dhabi, you know, any law firms that we could go to register our wills? Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I always say it is important, if you are looking for a lawyer, take somebody who is on that list of the registered wills draftsmen, because I see, especially on the social media, I see a lot of people who don't have any degree, who more or less pretend that they are specialists regarding the UAE law and your estate, etc. So I would always say, you know, you can just find all these lawyers on the DIFC website, and they work in Abu Dhabi as well, usually. And also, you know, when you're looking for a lawyer, ask them if they have any knowledge about your country of origin. If you have a lawyer from a common law country, and you yourself are from a civil law country, this lawyer does not have any knowledge, for example, about the matrimonial system, because that is another legal issue. Some countries have matrimonial systems where, as a wife, you are automatically entitled to 50% of the estate of your husband. But if that lawyer who drafts your will does not have any knowledge about these kind of things, then it is possible that you spend a lot of money and you have your will drafted, but still, you know, when something happens, you still have all kinds of legal issues. Of course, not you, because you passed away, but you know, the surviving spouse and all the loved ones, they have a lot of issues.
Oh, that seems like a really important thing to think about.
So especially if you, and also if you have a will in another country, it is important that this lawyer who drafts your will in the UAE is able to read that will.
It's funny. You know, the thing is, we're all going to die. And this is the one thing none of us think about. Not plan for.
None of us is
We
prepared.
plan for everything, which is not
Yeah.
guaranteed. We plan
Yeah.
the holiday homes. We plan the shoes we're going to buy next month. But there's no guarantee we're going to see next month. And we don't plan for wills, and we're all going to die. Isn't that
This should be
mind-blowing?
part of like a school curriculum, man. It's like,
Yeah. It should
Just
be actually
jumped right
a
in
law.
there. We're all gonna die. Don't do that.
The end is nigh, everyone. No, but seriously, like, we plan for holidays. We plan that, okay, in 3 years we're going to do this. But like, are we going to see those 3 years? You know, who knows? It needs to be some kind of law. There needs to be something where, you know, you have to get your wills done. I think it's just so important. It's got me actually thinking now that I need to do this. I need to plan. I need to do this. I need to think about this.
What you avoid with having a will as an expat in the UAE is this lengthy procedure at the court. You only have to go to the court to get a probation document, and as soon as you have that probation, you have access to all the assets of the deceased.
yes, we have a better idea now. It is a bit overwhelming, and I think each case is different.
Yeah.
So it's best to actually, you know, talk to Hilda and discuss with her whatever you have, you know, in your case.
I actually don't like talking about this.
Yeah.
No, you know, everybody always, you know, all of us know that at a certain moment, all of us will die. But, you know, lots of people always think, oh, you know, I don't want to talk about these kind of things. It's not a very nice subject. I always say it is already, you know, when your loved one passes away, it is already it is a disaster. And then if you have all those financial and legal issues as well, you know, that is simply too much.
Yeah.
When I talk to my prospects or my clients, and we talk about their funeral wishes, for example, they don't even know what the other spouse wants. So they don't know if he or she wants to be buried or cremated. Do you want to be repatriated to your own country? You know, spouses don't talk about these kind of things.
That's true.
We do, but
Speaking
it's
of
very, very
cremation.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Speaking of cremation, that goes in the will as well, or
Yeah.
because that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that has
thought it's
kind
illegal
of to
here.
happen immediately. I thought so too, but apparently it happens in the UAE.
Oh, it happened.
Yeah, there is one place in the UAE where you can be cremated.
Ooh,
Just one
okay.
place.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that can be quickly resolved if it's in the will, like you can. Because
Yeah, then you have this document indeed stating that is the wish of the deceased.
Well, this was very nice. I think we've given you enough headache for today.
Yes.
So many different situations and questions.
I
have a lot more knowledge going away from this. We have a lot more knowledge for sure.
Yeah,
that we can incorporate.
And I think the main thing to take away is please consult with someone like Hilda, registered draftsman. I got it now, the term. So that, you know, because everybody has a special situation, different country, different, you know, marriage, children, and so on. So thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
And that's it for me. You guys have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.